there are two ways which a Jew can be sold as a slave. One is a case which he does not speak of here, and that is if he gets into a lot of trouble, he's economically overwhelmed, and he sells himself. He finds someone who's ready to give him a chunk of money. He takes that chunk of money, pays up his debts. He gives some money to his family. The guy says he's going to support his family, and he becomes the guy's slave. That is one scenario of how a Jew could become a eved for 6 years. He sells himself. There's another scenario, and that is if somebody is caught stealing. In our society, if somebody is caught stealing, what do? They send him to jail if they can. If they can convict him, they send him to prison. And in prison, he learns better techniques. So he gets out and he steals even better next time. That's the American way. Back then, it didn't work that way. It was important that he make the victim whole. You need to pay back that which you stole. How do you do that? You sell the thief as a slave. He's not going to steal again. So if the guy has no money to make restitution, he's sold as a slave. B'mecharuhu bezn b'gnevasei hakosov medaber. Bare kvarnemek isikne eved ivri. U'b'mecharuhu bezn hakosov medaber. It's already covered. There are two new teachings here. That's why it's repeated in Deuteronomy, as is often the case. Echad, one is, shekoseh bei eiha ivriya, af hi teitze bashesh. It says the woman also goes free after 6 years. And in this case, v'lei shemecharu bezn, the court does not sell her. Sheinu isha nimkeres b'gnevasa, because a woman who steals is not sold into slavery. Shenemar, it says b'gnevasa for his theft. V'lei b'gnevasa, not for hers. Ela b'ktana shemecharu aviyah. How can a woman be sold into slavery? We're talking about a young girl under the age of 12. And her father is desperate for money. He can sell his daughter to a fellow Jew as a servant, but that has many restrictions. One of these restrictions is that as soon as she turns 12, she goes free. Another is that if 6 years pass before she turns 12, she goes free. We also learn that the owner is commanded, if possible, to marry her or to have his son marry her, to take her out of the house from which she came. The Limit Kandis teaches us, that if the 6 years end before she reaches maturity, then she goes forth earlier, which means if she was sold at 4 years old, 6 years pass, she's 10, she still has 2 years until her 12th birthday, but 6 years are over, she goes free. There's another contribution in this portion over the previous portion, that after the servant or slave serves their 6 year period, you should give them gifts to enable them to start a new life. As he says in verse 13, and when you send him free from you, do not send him empty-handed. But 14, you shall give him gifts. What kind of gifts? Give him sheep, and give him grain, give him wine. All of the produce, whatever your God blessed you with, you shall share with him, give him, so that when the Hebrew slave finishes his 6 year term, make sure he goes away with gifts. This is the source from where we learn that an employee as well, when an employee leaves your employee, you should gift him severance pay and so on. And of course the details are not here, but in general, that if somebody works for you X amount of time, you should give him a gift when he leaves, and this is what we call severance pay in general terms in today's world.